So for those of you who are new here, this is Midwest Mealworms. This is the front half of a 2,100 square foot building. This is where I've been doing all of my building, all of my storage, tinkering, experiments, etc. Up front, we've got our wheat bran storage and deep freezers. So I do deep freeze on the bran for 48 hours, no less than 48 hours, to help control grain mites. It's been very successful. And the fridge is there just for storage as needed, depending on if we have a surplus of mealworms and need to slow them down a little bit. We do that with the larvae. The pupa don't do well in the fridge, so we'll do that with the larvae. And then I've got the grain, the wheat bran that's been through the deep freeze, goes on that pallet, and then we know what's what. We've got a small powderizer. That's used in order to grind up the split peas. So here I've got the split peas. I buy those from Azure Standard. Highly recommend them. And I'll take those split peas. They're very dry, very dense, and I'll just grind them up. I need them into a powder, like a flour, in order to successfully treat any grain mite outbreak. That dehydrator there is actually up for sale. I use that for a bit, but it's just not something that works for the volume that I need to do from a dehydrated perspective. So it does work, worked fine for dehydrating mealworms. I just don't have that mapped into the future of this small scale right now. So that thing is up for grabs if anybody's interested. Miscellaneous junk. Like I said, I didn't clean up everything, so you guys can see what an operating farm really looks like. That cart in the back is a various smattering of bags, experiments, pupa sifters, hose reel, just different things that have been played with over the years as I've experimented and expanded the colony size. Various trays and whatnot here in the front. These feed bags are actually filled with mealworm frass. So this is one of the ways that I sell my mealworm frass in bulk. So I've got it prepped and ready to go, just waiting on pickup for the individual to come grab it. Over there we have a new HVAC. This is only a week old, so I have not been able to test this through the hot summer, but it's going to come in handy in the wintertime coming up here. So it's AC and heat, all electric, just to keep things simple, and we'll see what the electric bill looks like. The mealworms do produce heat, and I do have a dehumidifier in there as well. I think even in the wintertime in Missouri, it gets really dry, but I think inside the mealworm room, we're probably still going to need to utilize that. The tower here, that used to be the tower I raised the mealworms in. That's an original from my home where I started all of this for personal reasons. So now what I use it for is tool storage. So there's just the smattering of tools in there that I use to mess around with things here. Another cart. Most of the things on this cart are things that we utilize in the farm. So paper towels for the beetle trays, various tools, things like that, clamps, etc. Our respirators, full face respirators, so that everybody is protected when they go into the farm. That door is open, and I've been ventilating in there with the fan. I'll show you that in a moment, so that everything's cleared out, and I don't need to have that mask on when we go in for this. Boxes, shipping supplies, bags, things like that. Various different sizes that I've played with over the years. I'm down to, I think, 3 sizes: a large mailing box, a small cube mailing box, and a 14 by 10 by 6 for frass. So these are all remnants and leftovers from the various testing that I've done, and I'll utilize them at some point. Some humidifiers down there underneath. Those are the old humidifiers. Now I use an ultrasonic fogger. If anybody's interested in those humidifiers, you can have them for free. Some metal racking. This thing here in the middle, let me back up a little bit. It's actually going to go outside. So I'm expanding the mealworm room, and this guy's going to go outside to be outdoor storage. And it's just kind of here taking up space until I can get the dirt work done around the building with some gravel, just to get things a little cleaned up. And over there we've got ice packs. Did some various testing with shipping with ice packs. Not impressed, not something I'm super worried about doing, but I was just tinkering. And then various things that need to get out of here are underneath there. Different pieces of trash, different things that just need to go. That's where I'm collecting them and then slowly getting them migrated out. So that's the front end here. Through that office, through that door there is the office. Nothing fancy in there. But let's get into the mealworm room. So I'm going to walk in and head to the middle. And then we'll just kind of go around the room and chat. I'm going to take a moment to turn the fans off. All right, fans are off except for that exhaust fan. But let's start over here in the northwest corner. And again, I didn't clean any of this up. This is a working farm, so I clean it up enough to get work done, make it messy, and then I clean it up again. So we're kind of in the middle of that. Boxes and bags, prep those before Mondays so that they're ready to go, so that on Monday I can focus on just shipping, just packaging. I don't want to be messing around with making boxes and whatnot. I want to try to be as efficient as I can and take the time with the orders to make sure everything's okay. Various shipping supplies, newspaper, cups for local pickups, labels for local pickups, different things over there, scale, containers, trash receptacle, trash bin, things like that, and then just extra table space over there. I've got my Inkbird sensor, so that gives me the CO2 and the particulates. Those are the things I pay attention to on that guy. Very much impressed with that one. There's some other Inkbird devices that I haven't enjoyed as much, but this guy I really recommend. I utilize this quite a bit. You can see those particulates, which right now are 11 and 13. Those are nice and low, and that's why the exhaust fan is on, is to make sure that as I'm moving around in here without a mask on, I'm not going to expose myself to the frass dust that's in here. As we back up a little bit, sifting tower there, so that's how I'm currently sifting, separating sizes. A little bit of automation on the bottom, simple automation with a Sawzall. You can see the handle right there, and so that vibrates the bottom tray back and forth to help sift out the frass. A couple improvements I'll be making to that over the next few months. Probably building a brand new one, different design, just to tinker and again try to scale up a little bit with the increased production that's coming. As we move down, there's the hydration station. So what this guy does, simple tank, about 85 gallons, fill that with water, and then I've hooked up a 45 PSI pump right there. There's that guy. And he is connected to this hose reel. And so what I'm doing now is I'll pull that hose reel out, set it to the appropriate setting, either mist or shower, and then I'll just spray all of the larva trays. The beetle trays and the pupa trays are still currently getting water gel crystals. I'm looking for replacements for that, testing out agar, potentially gelatin, etc., so I can get to a different product there. This is the frass sifting area for right now. So these are totes of frass that need to be sifted a second time to make sure there's no eggs in there, no small larvae, and any random larger larvae or beetles that may have fallen in there while we were harvesting. So I've got a vibration plate at the bottom, or at the back here. Throw the tote on there, shake it back and forth, and just let it do its thing. That is very dusty, as you can see, which is part of the problem. So an improvised solution is what this is. Now that I know kind of how this stuff works, the right mesh to use, etc., I'm going to build a different type of unit or acquire a different type of unit in order to sift this, and then lock that dust down way better than it currently is. Dehumidifier there with the port out there. Air conditioner, yes, that's my handiwork there. Over the summer we had temperatures here get up to 105, and I had an air conditioner issue with my other unit that was still here before that new HVAC unit. And so as an emergency measure, I cut this thing out of the door and put that in. I did not want to cut another hole in the window, in the building, because the HVAC was going to get upgraded. It just hadn't been scheduled yet. So I went ahead and cut that door open. I do have a different door I could put in there, a spare door, or just swap doors, and I still have the insert so I can close that up and use it for an internal door. Yeah, that was sort of an emergency response scenario. So I had to get that in and installed quickly in order to get the temperature down in here. As we move into the back, we get into the trays. So the first 4 rows here are all pupation trays and spent beetle trays. And what I mean by that is, if I come in close here, what you'll see are trays with paper towels and beetles. And so these are beetles that are done. The pupa have all hatched, and so these are actually older beetles. So I'm going to let these be. Whenever I ship out beetles or collect beetles for my own use, I always use the less than week old beetles, because they're going to start laying eggs, and then they'll stop laying their eggs. They'll start laying within that first week, and then they're going to stop within about 12 weeks, depending on environment conditions. They'll lay 95% of their eggs in that first 8 to 12 weeks. And so you want to get fresh beetles. And so once those beetles have been tapped out, I go ahead and cull those, try to feed them off to the quail that I have. They don't really particularly care for them, so most of the beetles end up to anybody's chickens that want them or in the cull barrel. And then we've got our pupation trays. So that's where the larvae go to pupate, and then we collect them out of those trays and put them into pupation trays. And in the back here, this is where the partying happens, where all the mating beetles are. So they are in there partying hard, doing their mating, and then laying their eggs. And so once a week we'll do beetle swap, where we take those beetles out of those trays, put that egg-laden substrate back in, and then put these beetles in fresh substrate to keep doing their thing. After about 2 months, 2 months right now is our cutoff. Unless that tray for some reason still seems to be performing well from a egg quantity perspective. Otherwise, at 2 months, we'll go ahead and cull those beetles and get them out of rotation and put fresh ones in. Pupation trays, so I'm running low on the blue trays, so I'm using these white dough proofing trays again. And so you can see the pupa there on the side, and then the paper towels to help collect all the freshly hatched beetles. So all those are pupation trays, or beetle hatching trays, along with this column here. And then we get to grow out trays. So these are the youngest larvae here on the south wall, except for these, I think 5 or 6 rows here, or columns. Had to move them over here just for space issues. Had a very large section of growth, and didn't have enough down the line, so I put them over here temporarily. But most of the time, it's the young ones down here. So we got young ones all the way against that wall. I just did the swap yesterday on those, so they're going to start hatching. And then as we look to the north and keep looking and going, each of those is 1 week older. So we get all the way down there, and then on that far wall is where the oldest ones are. We've got our table here in the middle. This table's on wheels. I'm a big fan of everything on wheels so that we can move things around. Getting very close to having a solution to have all of these trays on wheels as well. This one's an old model where I took a dolly and literally screwed it to the dolly. Ruined 2 trays, but had to get the idea going just to see if it was possible. But different solution coming for that. Let's turn around and talk about the exhaust fan. So that exhaust fan runs, right now I've got it scheduled 6 times a day, all throughout the day, separated by about 3 hours. And so it runs and exhausts the air, pulls in fresh oxygen. And then lately what I've been doing is, because it's cool outside and hot in here, in order to save on electric costs, I'm just using that exhaust fan to pull in the cool air and keep it right around 78 in here. I'm doing that manually right now, but I've got a temperature gauge coming that I can set it with a 5-degree range to turn on and off at various temperatures. That way it can be a little bit more automated without crazy software. Let's move around this way. So those are all the older trays. And then we get over here, and now back in this corner is the new HVAC. So if I go up here, you can see the outlet there blowing that air in. I'll put a grate over that, and then the inlets down below. I used to have a mini split here. That did not work out, so the mini split was taken out. It does not work in dusty environments. So do not get a mini split for your mealworm farm. This is the heat system I used last year. You don't need a lot of heat with mealworms if you're well insulated, because they do generate heat. So this guy was the temporary solution. Now we've got the big beast over there driving the heat. And so I'll keep this old unit up just until I know that the current system works, just so I've got a little backup redundancy there in case I need it. You can see it's already wired, it's ready to go in the event that I need it. While we're here, here's a nice close-up of the air intake. So anytime that fan turns on and the door is closed, let me go ahead and do that. There you go. It'll open up. And then once the fan goes off, and I'm gonna mimic that with opening the door, that thing pops back down, and then it's got magnets on the underside, or on the inside here, that connect in so that it kind of creates a better seal there, just to maintain, or to keep air from flowing in and out there when it doesn't need to be. That reminds me, I need to close that hole up. That's where the old mini split piping went. So I'll get that squared away. But yeah, that is the mealworm farm. Pretty straightforward. If you have any questions, please let me know, and be happy to answer anything I can. Thank you very much.